So hi guys, this is Honey from Newbie Nodejs Dev. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna integrate the Dialogflow agent with the Google Sheets. So we need a sheet to integrate, so we're just gonna create one. And after we create, we'll go to the Dialogflow and do the rest of the setup. So this is the columns, like the ABC, we call this columns, and this is the rows. So whatever you write in the first row, it's just going to be like whatever it describes, whatever is under it. Like all of these things that I'm going to write is going to be name of somebody. Okay, got it. And we're gonna just, you can do anything. I'm just doing these kind of stuff. Okay, grade, subject, sorry about that, and let's just say the city they live. So we have all these details already. Like let's assume just like a simple database, so it's gonna already have these details like the name, grade, subject, city of some guy. And now we're gonna use the Dialogflow and we're gonna ask the chatbot to bring these details from here and give it to us. So that's what we're gonna do. It's a bit interesting, but the cool catch is we're not gonna use the inline editor. We're gonna use without the inline editor. So I think that's a bit cool. So let's just say Steve. He's in 5th grade, for example. He wants a math class from us, and he's living in Chicago. Oh my god. Okay. We have a Mark. He's 6th grade. Science. Unless it's in New York. And we're just gonna fill some details. Jacob, 9th grade, English, it's in Texas. Okay, I think this is enough details. You could fill how many ever you want. Okay, so we're gonna name this as, just say database. Yeah. So now the catch is, this cannot be, you cannot add information to this via a code. You can just add it, like I can just go here and type it, but by using a code I cannot write something here. So to do that, we got to change this to an API. And if you want to know what's an API and all that, there are links in the video. It's not my video, but there are other YouTubers who explain this properly, so you could go to them, watch their videos. Here we're just gonna go. So we're gonna go here. Just change it to anyone with a link. So anyone with this link can do anything to this. What that means is they can add a column, they could delete everything and all that. But we're not gonna share this to everybody. We're just gonna put this thing into an application. This is called sheetsDB.io. What this does is it converts, you could hear, turns a Google Sheet into a JSON API. JSON is basically JavaScript object notation. What that stands for is, I'm just going to show you just a second. We'll just log in. Okay, we'll delete this. Yep, you're going to create a new one. So you're just going to paste it and it's a create API. And that's it, it's created. Okay, so this is called, if you click this button, you're going to go to the Google Sheets. This is our sheets. You can add anything, you can do anything, there's no problem with that. And now if you click this, which is the API URL, so if you click this API URL, you're going to go to our JSON stuff. So what a JSON is basically an object in JavaScript. It's going to be like a key, a value, key, value, that's it, inside curly brackets separated by commas. This is like the standard syntax, but what a JSON does is to reduce like the size of transportation. They just even keep the key as strings and then they just make it into a single line. Actually, it doesn't come like this. It's a bit different. I've used this viewer to make it look this like the pretty look. It used to be like everything will be in the straight line, like name, grade, everything will be in a straight line. And using this application, I've just changed it to look pretty now. So these are the information that is present inside this database. So if you want, I could go and add something like, if I go and add, let's say Robert, 10th grade, Spanish, and he's Delhi. Okay, nobody studies Spanish in Delhi, but you know, if we just refresh this, I think we'll get it. Yeah, so we got the node detail. So we have not specified the city properly because I've not given entry here. If I go and just do it again, we're gonna get the city. Oh, sorry guys. Yes, okay, it's done, I guess. Okay, sometimes these things happen, so we just go here and we just go to the URL and we're gonna get it. See? Okay, so just don't worry guys, sometimes these things get confused, so we just go here, we just go to this thing and it's gonna work perfectly fine. So what we're gonna do is, when a user gives this to us, like we're gonna ask him to give us the name. As soon as he gives this to us, we're gonna just send the user with these details. We're gonna give them this. So to do that, we're gonna create an agent. So what's an agent? It's a chatbot. So we're gonna name it sheet integration because we're integrating with the sheet. You can keep any name. I try to keep a name that describes that thing perfectly because you can have how many agents you want. So just a second guys, it's just loading. So what an intent is like a package which contains what the user says and what the chatbot says. So the training phrases indicate what the user says. Like if you want to keep it here, phrases that you expect from the users that will trigger the intent. So it's basically whatever the user says. So this is the default welcome intent. So what that means is it's just going to be like a welcome stuff. So if you say hi, it's going to respond like how are you, something like that. It gets this from here. It's here. So these are the responses. So these are the responses that you could send. So I mean you want your chatbot to send that stuff here. So this bar right here, it tells you which intent is currently fired or triggered. And so here we can say like these are the stuff, but it doesn't do anything functional now. Like if you say hi, it's gonna say hi, but it doesn't do anything. So if I want the details of Steve. We're just asking the details of Steve. It's gonna be like, sorry, what did he say again? So where does how does it understand this thing? It gets it from the default fallback intent. So the default fallback intent basically, like if the agent does not match to any other intent, it's gonna just fire. Like for example, it doesn't understand anything, it's gonna go here. Like if you could read this like one more time, sorry, it all seems like it doesn't understand anything, it's gonna go here. That's it. So what we are gonna do is we're gonna create an intent. So the intent is, we're gonna go to the training phrases. Yeah, these stuff I'll explain you in some other day. These are not that important for us now. We're not creating that complex of a stuff. So when that comes, the context comes into play. So we're gonna say I want the details of Steve. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we want just Steve from all of this. So to do that, we're just going to say actions and parameters, and I'm going to say we're going to name a parameter. You can name anything. I'm just going to name a name because we're getting the name, and we're just going to write given name. So the at system, you need not worry about that. It means that it's from the system. It's an intent. I mean the entity of a system. Entity, it's like something that is, you define what that is already. So given name, it's going to have a set of names that are given. So if the user sends any of those, it will understand that it's a name, and then it will save it to, like, it will have a value, it will save that to there. So what we're going to do is we're going to require, because if he doesn't give us the name, we're not going to be able to understand which detail he wants. Like if he says, I want the details, we don't know of whom. So we require the name. So we just click here, require. So if it does that, it does not allow the person to do anything except to give the detail here. Only if you give us, it's going to leave it. So we're going to define a prompt. A prompt is basically what you're going to say if he doesn't get it. He's going to say something else. Then if he just says, I want the details, what are you going to say to him? So we're going to say, please provide the name of the person. So like that. Something like this. You can give anything. So these things, so to make it look less like a bot and more like a real human talking, you could add these variants. So it doesn't say the same thing again. It just changes. It chooses anything it wants. So you can, I don't know how many you can add, but you can add some stuff. So I'm just gonna keep it simple. So I'm just gonna have one thing. Okay. So till now it is fine. Okay. So we're gonna, now it doesn't understand that we have created a parameter, but it doesn't understand what is the parameter. So we're gonna do this. So sorry, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say this is the name that I'm talking about. Okay. Now it understands this. Now this, the resolved value is Steve. So that's what we want. So always look in the resolved value and just understand if this is the value that we want. If it is, then we've done it correctly. Okay, I just saved it. I'm gonna say hi. Okay, how can I help you? Now the default welcome intent is here. So we're gonna say I want the details of Mark, let's say. Now it's gonna say it doesn't have any response. The reason is because I did not give any response here. This is the response tab. This is what we want the chatbot to say. So we don't have anything here, so it's not going to say anything. And we don't want anything here because whatever we give here, it's going to be static. Like we cannot give this details. So to give that, we're going to use the code. I'll just talk that later. 1 second. Now what we're going to do is the intent fired is I want details. So I've just named it like that. I'm just going to change it to details. So, but that is the intent that's fired. And now it's took this. Now we're just going to do it again. Just going to say hi. Let's see. Okay, now the welcome intent is formed. Now we're gonna check if the prompt works. So to understand that, we're just gonna say I want the details. So here we're not specifying whose details we want. So if this works properly, it's just gonna say this thing, whatever written here, and it says that. So it works properly. Now we'll just say Steve. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't work, we're gonna add that. Okay, it understood and it took it, but I've never defined anything, so it's not going to come. But it understood. That's the main thing. Now what we're going to go do is we're going to go to the fulfillment, and then we're going to add a fulfillment. What a fulfillment is basically we're going to do a webhook call to our server, and our server is going to process that and send it to here. Get the information from here, and then from here again come to our server and then go to here. And it looks a bit complex, but it's not. It's just easy stuff. So what fulfillment does is it allows us to give unstatic, like good response, like what a response a real user wants. So we're gonna now start coding, but we need some prerequisites to do before we can start coding. So we're gonna look at that. So you need to have Node.js installed, and you gotta have this thing installed. It is Ngrok. What it does is it converts the local host into a public host, or a public URL, so that anybody can access it. So we're gonna give that to the dialogflow-fulfillment here, we're just going to give that as the URL we're going to give here. As so this will convert our localhost is our web server, into a public URL. That public URL will go here. So that's what we're going to do. So you need this, you have to download this, and after that we're pretty much done for that. We just need to go to the documentation of the sheetsDB and look which method we really want, because let's just understand it one step. What we're going to do is we're just going to ask for the details of mark, and this creates a parameter called mark. And now we're going to go to send this, and we're going to search with this parameter, like this value. We're going to search if there's mark. If there's mark, then send me the other details. That's what we're going to do. So to do that, we're going to find the correct method. Method is basically how you ask it. So I'm just going to go here, and I think it's search. So let's see. Okay. Yeah. So like this is the URL, and I've studied this document. What it says is you have to add a search /search and a question mark. Like every API call has something that you have to write here and a question mark, and after that is just the parameter. This thing will come from here. Just a second. This value. So this name, that is what is here. So how we write it, I'll just explain to you clearly. Now this is the API URL of this sheet. So now if we click this, we're going to enter it. We're going to get in here. We got here. Now what you're going to do is you're going to write /search and a question mark. There's nothing to understand here. It's just the same thing. Now we're going to write name equal to, and let's say Steve. Okay, so what it does not give you all the details. It goes and searches for whatever we have written after search. So after search, we have written that if name is equal to Steve, bring me all of that data, all of that in that row. So what it does is whatever you give here, name, this thing, whatever you write here, it goes to there, and it looks for whatever we have written after equal to, which is Steve. So it goes here and goes Steve. If it finds a match, it sends all of this back, including that. So it's going to send all of that data back. So for example, you could write city equal to New York, and anyone who's living in city New York, it's going to show that. See, it's going to show someone who's living in New York. Mark is living in New York. But we're not going to search it with city and all that. We're going to just search it with name. So we're just going to do name equal to, and then we're going to write the name of that person. Let's say Mark, and it's going to show the name of Mark. It's going to show Mark. So then this, always check it out before using it in the code. This is the URL we're going to post. Get information from. So this is the URL. So you just have to understand this. If you don't understand, you can just go and Google it out, or just write API calling, something like that. You'll get a lot of videos explaining this. But even if you don't understand, this is the name of that column name, the first column name, and this is the value inside it. So you're going to check if this is true or not. If it's true, it's going to return all of that, or else it's not going to return anything. If I say like May, and I don't have anybody with the name MA, so it's not going to send anything. It's going to send an empty list.